Initially, you know that I am going to regret announcing this, and that is beat. I'm a public organization, you loopy individual. See, this is right here. That is how first rate is it to be private, safe to say appreciably extra. Well, allows reason about it. Let's purpose about it. Permits, because our way through K. So first of all, it is going like this. The world has established about $1,000 billion with the statistics facilities. Those trillion bucks with the data centers use as general person fashionable reason. Computing standard purpose. Computing is run as root. We cannot retain to system that way. And so the world is going to accelerate everything. Statistics processing, you call it K. And so we are going to accelerate the whole lot while we boost up the entirety. Each single record's middle, every single laptop will be an extended server properly. There's about 1 trillion greenbacks worth of computers, if we do not grow in any respect. Over the next name it 4 years that we ought to move, replace 4 years, 6 years, select your variety of years. But if the laptop enterprise maintains to grow at a few 20% or so, will in all likelihood ought to replace over the path of subsequent, select your number of years, approximately 2 trillion, well worth of computers with extended computing. So simply make that GPUs okay sick of lousy odds and continually dropping money stake. Is the solution we are speaking. Crazy odds that would alternate your lifestyles. You could literally 1,000 instances your cache. What are you looking ahead to? Oh my God, here it's miles. Right here, it is. Right here, no. What befell? Sure, yes, sure, yes. Even one of the well-known artists within the global Drake is gambling it. What's Mac's guess on Plinko? Yeah, hit the link beneath and it allows get this birthday celebration began. It truly is. Number one. And this is the second one. Element, that is the purpose. Why, um, all of you stripe you're onto something. Just certainly enormous, this concept. This idea called, and you realize you've heard me say, an industrial revolution. Let me inform you why we're producing something for the first actual time that has in no way been produced earlier than, and we're producing it a very excessive quantity. And the production of this aspect requires a new tool that in no way existed before it's a GPU, and the aspect that we are generating for the very first time for the mathematician and all of the PC scientists in the room. For all of you, you already know that we are producing tokens. We're producing floating factor numbers at excessive quantity for the first time in history. And the floating factor numbers have fee. The reason why they've cost is as it's intelligence. It is synthetic intelligence. You may take those floating factor numbers. You reformulate it in the sort of manner that it becomes. English, French, proteins, chemical substances, photos, motion pictures, robotic articulation, steering wheel articulation. We are producing tokens at extraordinary scale. Now we have determined a manner through all the paintings that we do with artificial intelligence to provide tokens of almost any kind. So now the world is going to produce an extensive amount of tokens. Now these tokens are going to be produced in new kinds of statistics, facilities. We name them AI factories. Back within the closing business revolution, water comes into a system. You mild the water on fire, right? Flip it into steam, after which it turns into electrons, atoms. Come in, electrons go out on this new industrial revolution. Electrons come in and floating point numbers pop out. And much like the ultimate business revolution, no person understood why these electricity is so treasured and is now offered proper marketed kilowatt hours in keeping with dollar. And so now we have, you ever know, million tokens in line with greenback. And in order, that same logic is as incomprehensible to quite a few human beings as the final business revolution. However, it will be absolutely ordinary inside the subsequent 10 years. Properly, those tokens are going to create new products, new services, beautify productivity. An entire slew of industries. $100 trillion well worth of industries on top, folks. And so this industry goes to be tremendous. And so one can, to monetize that transact, which you're going to want Stripe. And so I got to tell you, this is one among my favorite groups. The first time I met Patrick, he had to give an explanation for Stripe to me. I used to be, first of all, it turned into so complex. We attempted to refine the descriptions. Over time, however, you are in a complex commercial enterprise, no matter what. But despite the fact that I was become so inspired by means of it, it's superb. What you guys have built, are we going to get you migrated to strip billing? Now that we've utilization primarily based billing, and I wish I had a commercial enterprise that required billing. I assume your public submitting shows. You're doing quite a few billing. We'll comply with upping it. All right, so it's simplest 10 transactions, just so that your economics serving us is like nothing. It's like 10 transactions. We might happily take the 2.9%. But anyway, we can talk that separately. So suppose a chief thinking about this talk, you cannot say which your public agency. So um, so thinking about these, you understand token factories. I feel like a huge question. Proper nouns. Whether or not the models saturate inside the experience that you understand. We demoed the Sigma Assistant on stage earlier, and you realize you may write them natural language. And we convert that to square and going from, maybe a 7 billion parameter model to a 70 billion parameter model or something like that. Might you understand there might be a sizable kind of consequential improvement in query accuracy for the consumer for the typical varieties of queries that humans generally tend to assemble. However, perhaps going to a version that's 10 times larger than that is type of needless, like sooner or later, you get to exact enough. You can reliably convert. The natural language is same, I suppose. There's a query of you recognize for the use cases for which LLMs are being deployed. You understand what does that saturation curve gave the impression of, and for how many use cases does we need 1 trillion parameter model or a 10 trillion parameter model version? Or can we clearly reach a point where you already know a few range that is, say, much less than 100 billion is sufficient? Do you have got any factor view on that? Or is that even, an inexpensive way to have a look at the query um, inside the first location, K permits, break it down, permits motive, about in public, almost the whole thing. Every query I am getting, okay, permits destroy it down, permits motive about. So let's start with an example in 2012. AlexNet become laptop imaginative and prescient. Picture internet, photograph, recognition 82% or something like that. Accuracy over the subsequent nearly not pretty 10 years. I think it turned into like 7 years. Every unmarried year, the accuracy error decreased in one half, right? Each every year, the mistake decreased in half, or in any other case referred to as Moore's regulation, okay? So you double the overall performance. You double the accuracy. And also, you double its believability each unmarried year over the direction of 7 years. It's now